What's up, fellas?
How's it going? He's got headphones too. Now I feel less than. How's your work going, John? Have you started the new
Yeah,
gig?
man, it's good. I started Monday. Like my leader, really straight shooter, like very supportive. Um, haven't met 95% of the team. So
So you're traveling around meeting those folks?
I'll be traveling to Denver and Tulsa and New Orleans and Dallas and all those places just to get my foot in the door and figure out what's going on in those markets and see how I can help and serve and figure out like what's the culture like. Sometimes when you walk in as a new leader, everyone's like walking on eggshells, and for me, it's like we're in this together.
Yeah.
Like we're on the same side of the table. Let's figure it out. But I think a lot of times you can walk in. The beauty of walking in from the outside is, you know, if you've learned, like I'm a really big like people nerd, so I study a lot of like neuroscience and a lot of just psychological stuff, and have studied body language and have studied communications and have studied a lot of that stuff on my own time.
Have you read the book Crucial Conversations?
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
have it. Yeah,
that's a great course. That's a great coursework to go through too.
yep, yeah. It's very it's the world needs great leadership, and great leadership comes from biblical background, whether you know or believe it's biblical or not. So it's super helpful. And it's funny because now when I read scripture and stuff, I read it through the lens of leadership, and Jesus was the greatest leader of all time. So it's easy to read it from that lens too.
I sat up straight when you were talking about reading body language.
But reading body language is more about like eye shift at certain points. It's about, facial cues. It's about like, I think Stanford study was like 92 or 93% of communication is not the words you speak anyway. I teach salespeople a lot. Like, how do you know who actually makes decisions? So your feet typically point to the person that's making a lot of those decisions.
No, speaking of body language, Josh kind of turns into a robot sometimes. Like, I'll be talking to Josh, right? And then he's like, his chin dips a little bit, and he gets very serious. Like, and I don't know what just happened when he does that.
That's I got the nickname C3PO.
No, you didn't.
Before.
That's not true. There's no way that's true. That's
Am I
fantastic.
saying something that is this new to you, Josh, or you've heard that before?
No, it's not new to me whatsoever. With it's because I emotion leaves, logic enters only when I'm in conversation. I'm trying to like study and learn and pick up on everything somebody else is trying to say, and so like just everything leaves with it. Now, yeah, I know I do a bad job with that.
So are you like contemplating how to kill somebody, or are you like analyzing what they're saying, or what?
No, I definitely my next
It'll
target, my
make
next
me
mark
feel
is
more at
always
ease
on
if
my
you're
mind.
explaining.
Yeah, it's always on my mind. My next mark.
That's funny.
Yeah, no. Oftentimes I'm analyzing. I'm walking it through. I'm an internal processor, and so that's all of a sudden what turns on, and it's like the exterior kind of shuts off a bit. Then I start internally processing because I don't like to speak out what I haven't already processed in my head, and that can be a really good thing when you're speaking from a stage. That's a great thing. When you're in normal conversation, it's not necessarily the most authentic thing, or it doesn't feel authentic because it's like, oh, I got to process that first before I come out with something. And so Chris and I talk about that even in our marriage relationship and our connection with one another and how we talk, because she's a very external processor. And so as she'll process something, I'll be like, whoa, I don't know where you're coming. She's like, hold up. She's like, I'm just now processing this with you. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of things that might not make sense yet. I'm not trying to tell you exactly how it is. I'm trying to tell you my process of thinking in this moment.
Yeah, I just like I feel like I'm that way too. I'll just kind of pause sometimes, and that'll throw people off.
I'm working on the external process. I'm an external processor also, and that is a hard thing to. That's a hard thing to kick. Like I'm trying to work on that with my kids, with my wife, with myself. I'm like, let's just talk. Like especially in my 20s, like that was a big problem. But like not good. I would say something. Christina's like, "Are you kidding?" I'm like, I don't even kind of know what I don't even like. And we had to work through that in a big way the first couple years of our marriage, because I was like, I don't know why she's getting up in arms about this. But in her head, to your point, Josh, she's processed. If she said that same thing, she's been thinking about that for days.
Yeah.
So like that was
It's finally coming out.
Yeah, that's a very calculated word or phrase or whatever. And I'm like, that just came out just now. Like, right? I don't even know.
As we go.
I don't even know where it came from half the time. She's like, you might want to just breathe before you do that. So
That's good though, because I feel like sometimes I'm too hesitant. I'll overthink things, and then like I miss my chance.
Yep.
You know.
Analysis
Miss my chance.
paralysis with stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
the thinking out loud thing has bit me really bad with my son because my son hears it and goes that because as a parent he's like, Dad said it, it's okay. And I'm like, dang it, that's not at all. Like, it's not even okay to me. But I processed it, so it's out now. And it's like, no. Like, I can't tell you how many times I'm like, where did you hear that? He's like, you. I'm like, when? He's like, yesterday. I'm like, what? Okay. Well, noted.
You need one of those recorders now that you can wear, those AI recorders, and then it can play back to you.
100%.
Did I say these words yesterday?
100%. I need
That's
that.
scary. Listens to everything.
It listens to everything.
Well, just let it ride here, John. When we're together on this podcast, just let it fly, man.
Careful, bro.
We're excited for everything you've got to say.
I say external processing is the best on a podcast because
Yes.
you get that like.
Yes. Yeah, yes, for this format, yes, it is great. For spirited debates inside the house, less. But yes, for the entertainment of the audience, it's fantastic.
It is wonderful.
Everything you're thinking to your wife is not
as
a recommendation.
Yeah,
Okay.
not as good.
That's funny.
All right. Have you guys ever had a sty in your eye? It's like a pimple on your eyelid.
My kids have had that before, and we've got eye wipes, the Ocu something eye wipes that they use for it that takes it away pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But I've never had them.
My wife has had them. I have not either. I'm very fortunate. When she first said that, when she had one like 3 or 4 years into our marriage, and I was like, I don't know what you're saying. She's like, I thought she had like astigmatism at one point. I was like, that's not what it's called. And she's like, yes, it is. I'm like, no, it's astigmatism. Like, I'm like, what? Like we were like, I was super confused.
You were saying astigmatism is not called astigmatism, or a sty is not called.
She said a sty, and I thought she said astigmatism, and I was like, did you have an eye appointment? Did the doctor tell you that? And she's like, no, I woke up with it, and I was like, I don't think that's how that works. And again, because I was like, it was like such. I was like, I don't think you can just do that. Like, how do you self-diagnose astigmatism? And she's like, it's not, it's a sty. And like, it was a whole thing, and it was.
You got to stop and think.
Yeah, See, you guys are getting a live look into my processing. I didn't Google it, nothing. I was like, I don't think what.
How does styes happen? Do they just come up? Like what's the?
Well, women get them more because the makeup. I've just got to lay off the makeup, I guess. But it's just like
I noticed your makeup's pretty thick today, John.
I know my eyeliner. I'm just gonna stop at some point. Enough is enough. But no, it's just a clogged pore, like right on the edge of your eyelid. So. All right, let's get to our guest who's patiently waiting here. So the guest we have joining us today is a friend of mine. He's a Fulshire resident and a native of Colombia, South America. He's in the insurance industry, but his real passion is his nonprofit media industry. Hold on. Let me do that sentence again. I'm the editor, so I'll edit it. I'm gonna start again.
Bring it.
Cut.
So who's our guest, Luther?
Take 2. Oh, let me tell you, Josh. The guest. All right. The guest we have today. Dang. All right. Sorry, Joyner. He's there, listening. The guest we have joining us today is a friend of mine. He's a Fulshire resident and a native of Colombia, South America. He's in the insurance industry, and his real passion is a nonprofit media ministry. Joyner Briceño. See, that's the thing is I can't see up close. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry. I have to like print it out.
Does this have to do with the sty? Does this have to do with the LASIK? Or is this
the LASIK? Because once I did LASIK, I can't see.
That John's been talking about.
Yeah, see,
I can't see up.
Try to tell people.
Now it's just weird. All right. All right, here we go. The guest we have joining us today is a friend of mine. He's a Fulshire resident and a native of Colombia, South America. He's in the insurance industry, but his real passion is his nonprofit media ministry. Joyner Briceño, I said that right, Joyner Briceño Ministries. He's a hardcore soccer fan and won't miss a Colombia national team game. But his absolute favorite thing to do is spending time with his wife and new 10-month-old baby boy. Joyner, welcome to Faces of Fulshire. There he is.
Oh,
What's up, Joyner?
There's the face.
That was quite an intro. I definitely
third
was
time.
cracking up back here.
Joyner, we can
Sorry,
send that. We
Mike.
can send that to you so that you can have your family introduce yourself like that at like family get-togethers, Thanksgiving, like whatever you need, man. We can send it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is that was quite an introduction.
Say your
Welcome,
Joyner.
Joyner.
Say your last name. Say your last name for us.
Briceño.
Briceño.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
that's the way you say it in English. In Spanish is Briceño.
Briceño. That's what I was trying to say. See, I
Yeah.
knew that. The Inye.
Yeah,
The
no such
Inye.
thing as an ñ in English, so
English.
Briceño will do.
Believe it or not, I'm minored in Spanish. So that shows you it's been a long time since I graduated. And my wife is Colombian too. So, but oh, hey, Joyner, I was going to tell you. So we were talking the other night about have you met? My son's asked us like, have you ever met a famous person? And the most famous person that my wife has met was El Pibe, the Colombian soccer player. Do you know? Or I'm sure you're familiar with has the big hair, big afro hair.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, well, that was my first famous person I met, as a matter of fact. I was 10 years
really?
old. It was right before the World Cup of USA, 1994.
Yeah.
And my dad worked at a Sheridan up in New Jersey. And it was right across from the Meadowlands, the New York Giants Stadium. And the Colombian team stayed at the hotel my dad was working at. And he came, and when they scheduled the thing, he came and he was like, "Oh, we got to go and get the autographs. We got to take Joyner." And so we were there at 7 in the morning. Once the bus pulled up, all the Colombian team just came out of the bus, and it was just a couple of us. And I shook everyone's hand and I took a picture with El Pibe.
Oh wow.
And I still have that like in a little box so I can show my son one day. I've been having that for ages. I was only 10 years old.
Nice.
But I still have the picture around. As a matter of fact, I have it here in my office. But
That's cool.
that was the first person that I ever met that I was famous. And I've always looked up to El Pibe.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
I should get that. I should get a copy of that from you, and once I figure out social media, I can post it on Faces of Fulshire social media.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll send you a copy of that. That's I
Yeah,
have
my
that.
wife met him. My wife met him in an airport. She was young and went up. She said she was all scared and went up and shook his hand, got an autograph. But
Yeah,
very cool.
that was my first person. As a matter of fact, very interesting. You came up with that.
Yeah, funny. So you lived quite a few places. Obviously started in Colombia, and then you went to New York, or where was it after that?
Yeah, so when my
Jersey?
family and I moved to the USA, we started in New Jersey. It was in the northeast corner of Jersey, which is Hudson County, right across the river from Manhattan. And I lived in Jersey from age 1 to age 12. So I did all my elementary was up in Jersey. We would wear shirts that said that I survived the blizzard of '92, or because the winter was crazy. And that was my humble beginnings. It was over there.
So you
After
came you came to the U.S. like as a baby.
Yeah, I was only one
Yeah.
when I came to the US. And when I was age 12, we moved to Miami. And Miami, I lived in Miami for about 22 years. It's a very beautiful city, very beautiful city. The culture, the weather. We didn't have winters in Miami, but it was amazing. It was amazing experience. I lived in Miami 22 years, and then in 2018 I moved to Houston.
Joyner, I think you moved from Miami in 2018, right? You said?
Yeah,
So I lived in Miami from 2016 to 2019, 2015 to 2019. So we crossed
really.
paths briefly there. Yeah, I was the least Spanish speaking Miami resident for sure for the 4 years I was there. 100%. Yeah. My wife my wife teases that my daughter was, because my daughter was born in Miami. My daughter was born in the South Miami Hospital. So
Oh, okay.
we have fond memories of Miami. My daughter will forever tell people, if you ask her, that she is born in Miami, and people give her the same look every time because she has blonde hair and blue eyes and is as fair skinned as you want to be. And so everyone looks at her like, is she saying Miami or Minnesota? I don't think Miami is the one, and it's true. So
There's a Miami in Ohio, I think.
yeah. I for
There
sure.
is.
People are like, that's got to be what she means. That can't be 305. Yeah, that's all. I agree with you. Miami's a beautiful. We miss the people, the food, the city's unbelievable. Yeah, it's a good place.
So, Joyner, when you moved from Columbia up to New Jersey and then New Jersey to Miami, Miami to Houston, each of those times it's been with family, like with not just immediate family, like it's been with like a crew
Right.
of family around you. Is that right?
Yeah, so I always say that we're like a tribe, not a family, because everywhere we go, we move as one unit.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
That's a
and
Latin
that's
family, dude. I love that. That's like one of my favorite things about Latin families. It's the best.
yeah.
So
So so
who all's in the group that moves to all these places?
so it was it was mom and dad, my sister and her two daughters. My brother was already here in Houston, so we've always been united as a tribe, and the one that always taught us that was mom. Mom was the one that always held it together, and we just continue with the bond.
That's awesome.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we did it all coming together, and that's just something that defines us as a family.
Now your family's growing, right? You got a 10-month-old.
Yeah, I got Joshua. I named him after the pastor.
That's a strong name.
Oh, that's a horrible name.
That's a strong name right there.
Should have gone with Luther. So much better.
Yeah, so he 10 months, and he took over my heart. It was scary at the beginning. I was always scared of being a dad. I don't know why. Uh, but when it finally happened, it was just like, okay. I mean, we're gonna have to follow through now. It's not in the plans anymore. It's concrete evidence. And it's been 10 months, and he just has my heart. He's amazing. He's a redhead. He's a picture back there.
Hmm.
So he has red hair. So everywhere we go, it's just like they always ask us, how did he get the red hair? And mom was the one that had red head.
That's awesome.
And
But she's Colombian too, right?
yes, my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
my wife was born and raised in Medellin.
Yeah.
I brought her over to the States as a K-1 visa, as a fiance,
Awesome.
and she came the February 4th of 2010, and we got married February 5th, the next day.
That's
Oh wow.
cool.
Yeah, they gave us 90 days, if to feel it out whether she wants to stay or not. And as soon as the day, she came at night, we got married in the morning.
You're like, I'll take it in 90 minutes. We'll figure this out. I need an
Right.
hour and a
Yeah.
half. You give me just, let's go.
Yeah.
Not a
So
problem.
that's the way we did it. We've been married for 15 years now,
That's
and
awesome.
just recently we just had our first and only child. We're not planning to have any more.
Okay. You're stopping with one.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it. One
Yeah.
stop shop.
Yeah.
So your
So
brand.
she was
Oh, go ahead, Luther.
So she was redhead when she was born, when she was a baby?
My mom was.
Oh, your mom was. Okay.
Yeah, my
That's
mom was the
interesting.
redhead of the family. She was. She said she was actually blonde when she was born, and then she kind of just transitioned into, a ginger.
Yeah.
But ever since I remember mom, she was always a redhead.
Yeah. My boys were lighter. I mean, they've taken, well, we kind of have one of each. My wife's Colombian, so my older one is got lighter skin, a little bit lighter hair, but they both had lighter hair when they were born, and then it got darker. It
Okay,
changes. I think their eye color changed too.
So,
nice.
Joyner, I'm curious. You're 10 months in after almost 15 years of marriage. Like, what has surprised you about being a dad that you weren't expecting?
I think the way the way I'm in love with my son. I always asked people who were dads, like, I was curious of how they felt, or how their experience was, and I just never could understand it. I mean, I can comprehend it here, but I can never put myself in their shoes. And one of the things that they always said is that is the best feeling they ever had. Is just unique. And I was always curious of what they were talking about. Even my best friend had his kid first in me, and he would always say that, it's just you grow. The way he described it was he was more appreciative of his wife.
Yeah. So,
But
how,
everyone gave me a unique answer, and mine was, I'm in love with my son. It's just, I don't know. It's just an affection that I've never felt in my life.
so this may be a good segue question to your ministry side of your passion, but how has that evolved your relationship as from being a father, evolved your relationship with your heavenly father?
Yeah, so that's my second unique. I think my relationship with the Lord just, it took another step. It took another step because whatever I feel towards my son, it's magnified 1,000 times of what the Father feels for me. I always want the well-being for Josh, and I know the Lord always wants what's good for me. So, I'm always protecting Joshua. I'm always there for him. Whenever he wakes up, I want to be the first person that he sees. Uh, I feed him, I change him, and it's just an in love feeling all the time. And so now I can put myself kind of in my father's shoes in the way he feels towards me. And I know that he's protecting me. I know that he has so much grace. The way that I try to help Joshua crawl, even in that moment, uh, I know that the Lord is training me for whatever's coming next in my life. So it is definitely taking a step that I can relate now as a dad of what it would be like for my heavenly father towards me.
It's funny those things that people will tell you, and I kind of stopped telling people like how it is to be a parent before they're a parent, like if they're pregnant, because it's like you don't know, like it's this weird, unexplainable obligation, and you're constantly forgiving them, like you're constantly okay with their shortcomings and their issues and their messiness or whatever, and you just keep giving and giving and giving, like no matter what they do, like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't, like I don't even know that we do this as parents.
Yeah,
We become the giving tree. It's like
right.
chop me
Yeah.
down so you can sit on my stump. There's like nothing left. So, yeah, there's nothing left of us in the
Yeah.
end. But we keep giving, and but there's this thing that's like, yep, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give all of my life for that. It's a cool thing, but it's hard to know, before you're in it for sure.
Yeah. When my wife was pregnant, I was having a hard time because I knew that there was a special affection that's supposed to be towards your son, but I didn't know how to describe it. And when when she was pregnant, I didn't feel that affection. I didn't feel in love with my son. And so that kind of frustrated me because whenever I would see my wife, she was already in love with Joshua. And here I was, it was just like if, I didn't feel anything. There was no positive emotion or negative. It was just, well, here he is, he's in my wife's belly and that's it. And so I would question that and I would take it to my father and I would be like, am I supposed to be feeling this way? When I see others, they're interacting and they're already in love and they're expecting, and I was expecting my son, but I didn't have the same enthusiasm as many do. So that really, like, that frustrated me, and it questioned, I was questioning myself at one point if it was healthy or not. But sure enough, once he was born, once after the first month took form, that's when I started, like, just the nature of a dad just started kicking in. I was already falling in love with my son, and I'm still falling in love with him 10 months later.
So where is he now? Like, as far as, is he? I just 10 months isn't walking quite yet.
He's doing the military crawl, and he's trying to stand up. He's already standing up on his crib, and sometimes he wants us to hold him so he can stand. I'm already, like, teaching him how to kick the soccer ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You don't need to. He doesn't need to crawl. Just let him kick. Go straight to kicking the soccer ball, dude. He's skip all the.
yeah.
It's fine.
Well, hopefully next month I can sign him with Real Madrid, so that should be good.
Yeah, keep showing them the
Their
videos
baby.
of James.
Yeah.
The baby program.
Do a press conference. Do a press conference with you, lovely gentlemen.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
But yeah, looking forward to a lot of things with my son. I know this is just the beginning.
Yeah. Well, with your ministry, I'm curious about that. We've talked about it some in the past, but what was the genesis of that? I mean, where did it start? When did it start? What was
So
your motivation to start that?
I've been a believer since I was 16, 17. I was a teenager. I was baptized in water. I was a believer, in my heart. I knew that I was saved. And so that's, I was a part of a local church. I was doing everything that I could get my hands on. I was doing the discipleship. I was doing the Bible studies every Wednesday. It came to a point that I wanted to do more. I wanted to impress my Lord. I wanted to just be there whenever he needed me.
Well, Jordan, let me ask you if I can interrupt that.
Yeah.
Like, what was that? You say you were a teenager, but what was it? I know in my teen years, I had to hit a really tough wall, to take
Yeah.
a different route. But what was it that got you to that point? Like, what inspired that change
Uh,
or brought you to faith, I guess?
Me, to tell you the truth, I just went to one service and that was it for me. I went to it was a Baptist church, and I got saved in a Baptist church, and it was the first message that I heard, that there was a Jesus, that he was Lord, that he loved me. That was it. At that point, I believed in my heart that I was saved and that I was his. I know it's different for
Awesome.
many people, but that was just my unique experience.
And you didn't go to church before that?
No, I never went to church before that. My parents were Catholic. My whole family was Catholic. So I considered myself a Catholic because they were Catholic, and so I
Mm.
respected the religion, because and I owned it, by tradition.
Hmm.
It wasn't until it was the first sermon that I heard that there was actually a Jesus that loved me, and that he became a man, and that he, from that point on, I was a believer. I was on board. I was a born again, saved believer. And, you know, when I walk as a believer, through my teenage and even my younger 20s, there came a point where I was so involved with works. I worked more than anyone else in the church. I was number one. I would pray for about 2 hours a day in the morning. That wasn't enough.
Joyner, what do you think caused that idea that you had to work so hard in order to be in relationship with God? Or like, what was the catalyst that in your mind, was it just a work ethic that came with you that said, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it to the best or to the hardest? Or was there something modeled for you that said, man, I have to reach perfection or something like that as a part of your personality?
Yeah. Well, it was the books that I read. It was the churches that I attended to. Unfortunately, they all instilled in me that I had to work in order to please God. So guess what I did? I worked. I never heard in a local church where the Lord just had grace towards me. I didn't know, I didn't understand or experience the term grace until I had that encounter with the Lord. And once that happened, I always tell people that turned me into a pastor, that turned me into a minister. And I
And
was
what was
able,
that? What? Sorry. What? So you say encounter, and I'm curious about that. Like, was it a moment where, like, you remember where you were, you remember how you
yeah,
felt, you remember what you were doing, type of
yeah. So I
thing, or what
was,
was that?
I works in a local church wasn't enough, so I had to, bring it up a notch, and so I found a Bible college that I can go to, and to become a minister. On my way to Miami, I had a pit stop in Tampa and then go to Orlando. It was 4 hour drive from Miami to Tampa. During those 4 hours, I was just talking to the Lord. I was worshiping, and right then and there, the Lord said to me, "You know what, Joyner? Everything that you've done for me is profit you nothing," and it broke my heart because I've done so much, and that's what I told the Lord. I've done so much, and what do you mean it's profit me nothing? And then he told me, ever since you believed in me, you were always righteous. And that changed my life. That changed the paradigm of my world. But, one of the things that the Lord showed me was that, the same grace that I've shown you and you've experienced, teach that to others. Teach that grace to others. And that will radically impact and radically change others' life like it did mine. I was a porn addict while going to uh, the Bible college, and when I arrived at Tampa, I was no longer a porn addict. It was just from 1 hour to the next, chains were broken. I was a new person. But to bring a story, to shorten the story, I in 2010 I was able to step up and create Joyner Briceño Ministries, which is a 501(c)(3). I wrote a couple of books, and that was my journey in a nutshell. In 2009, in a local church, I was called out publicly to ministry.
What is
2000,
that? Sorry. What does that mean to be
it,
publicly called out?
it means that the leadership of the church feels fit that or feels a sense that I'm called by God by the fruit that they've seen in my life. And so they publicly announced that, the pastor says, I feel driven to say that Joyner is called by God. And it wasn't something that I told him, or that I wanted to do, or my plans. It's just something that they saw fit based on what they saw. And so there I was. That was my beginning of Joyner Briceño Ministries, and I've had that same fire ever since. The mission that the Lord gave me is still alive as just when He first said it to me in 2005.
What is the mission? What's the mission of Joyner Briceño Ministries, and how do you accomplish that mission? like
Yeah,
specifically
so
through your specific ministry?
yeah, so my mission is to teach the gospel of grace, and not only to teach it, but to disciple people into spiritual maturity. That's basically it. My resources are all free in the website that I have. You know, I've done audio teachings, video teachings. I've written 2 books, and I write constant articles all the time.
What are the name of your names of your books, Joyner?
From 2005 through 2010, I tell people that I was like a prophet in a cave. I would just read scripture. I would fill up notebooks, and my first book was all those notes compiled between 2005 and 2010. It's called Live Free: The Grace Revolution. Then my second book was in 2016, uh, and it was Grace Therapy: The Living Alternative. The first book is more doctrinal. The second book is more about how do I take grace and apply it to my life.
Joiner, do you have a vision for like, do you want to go full time into that ministry and step out of the career field and go full time into the ministry? Like, what's the dream behind kind of the future of the ministry?
Yeah, so I've ever since I created Joyner Briceño Ministries, I've always wanted full time. Full time is always something that I've asked the Lord for, but it's not in my timing. Whenever that's available, I'm happy. I've not always been content about it, because I've always wanted it. Hey, now, when is it? I want it now. But the Lord has always taken His time for some reason in that area, and that's something that I have grown in content with.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's interesting. Like, maybe you can expand on this at a broader sense, Joiner. Like, I think there's a lot of times in our life where there's tension in the transition of where the Lord's bringing us from into whatever He's bringing us into. Um, I'm curious, like as you're on that journey, because I think a lot of people have pursuits, passions, whatever that may be, outside of what they may do to, feed their family today, or what their career field may be, whether that's ministry or not. Like, I think there's some people that maybe want to start a business, or maybe want to do something. They may want to move to a different state. Like, I think there's phases in life that we all go through, and maybe,
Yeah.
or maybe they want to do something different with their business or their organization or
Right.
whatever. And so maybe you can, just take a couple minutes, and you're in the thick of it. You're in it now. And I think also you have a unique perspective because, you've been in this transition for 15 years, right? Like, it's not like this, it's not like you started ministry 5 months ago and you're waiting on God to let you go full time. Like, you started in 2010, right? And now just hearing your journey, I would love to just kind of hear, like, what is the thing that you've had to wrestle with the most,
Yeah.
across that time frame, that could help our listeners, because I think sometimes when we're in a transition and there's tension inside of us, we feel like everyone else has their situation 100% figured out, and there's no tension
Right.
inside them, right? And you probably have felt that in your walk, where it's like everyone else is so clear and I'm not. Like what's
Right.
going on? And so I'd love for you to share with us, like, and it would help me. Like, I think, as someone
Yeah.
that I feel like I'm constantly trying to, do more, and serve more, and just what words of wisdom would you offer to somebody that may feel like they're the only ones that are in that transition, and maybe the transition's taken longer than they thought. What could you help us with?
Yeah. The word of wisdom is, when it comes to your calling, when it comes to your purpose, just be available. Be available for the Lord and let Him open the doors of ministry. Because it's not a career. The calling is not a career. It's not your ambition. It's not for your benefit. It's not something that will, that you want to do. It's the calling and the purpose is something that it's his benefit, is his message, it is his doing. So it is trusting in the Lord and what he has for you, and instead of what you want for yourself. Because people tell me, "Hey, why don't you just go apply to a church, or or
That was my next question.
yeah."
Have you
And
thought about applying at a church,
I
being a
have.
pastor in a church?
And I've gotten in trouble in the past because I stepped out too soon. I planted a church back in 2012 in Miami. It was the church plant was 2 years, and I was just barely grabbing, you know, for my life because it was not working out. I was getting in debt. There was pressure in my marriage,
Hmm.
and everything that I did. And it's sort of just like a Moses moment, you just stepped out too soon, and you were not ready, you know. But I did it out of an impulse because I was already an author, because I had the message so ingrained in me, the grace of Christ. So let's just tell as many people as we can, and that it wasn't received well. I had even pastors just bashing me, saying that I was from the devil, that this and that. I got into that. There was pressure in my marriage. Long story short, I had to close it down. I had to close it down, and I from then on I've always said to the Lord, okay, then whenever you open a door, then you open the door. I'm not gonna just break through the door.
I don't know though. I think that sometimes I think we get, and I'm not necessarily giving feedback on your situation, more of mine. Like, I feel like there's been specific instances, multiple instances where, I prayed about something, feel at peace with something, and I just fall on my face. Um, and that actually is very similar in some ways of I when we lived in Dallas maybe 10 years ago, I felt at peace at joining a seminary. I was like, all right, I'm going to try to do this pastoral thing, and so I joined and I started classes, and it was like not it really just like a month into it, it was like, okay, if I'm going to stay married, I am going to not be able to do this. I can't like it was like, okay, babe, I'm going to go to work, and then when I come home, I'm going to spend all evening doing classes and then all weekend. So we'll see you later. It was like I couldn't do it. And the moment where I had to choose, and it's like, okay, I'm quitting school. But I learned so much from that, and it just along those lines of being patient. But I feel like God didn't stop me. He kind of let me fail to learn those lessons. Like I had to get burned to realize the stove is hot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like those are
Uh,
important lessons, from
yeah.
life, is going through those times.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Lord, he lets you be. He's a gentleman. Uh, he was right, and he's not the one to tell you, "Hey, listen, I told you 2 years ago that this wasn't the way." Nah, he'll just say, "You know what? There's still grace. I'm gonna pick you back up, uh, and I'm gonna love you just as if you've never sinned."
Joyner, do you have any next steps for your ministry? Like what's right around the corner or what's ahead? Is there anything coming up that's new or different for you?
Yeah, right now, I just created a LMS, like digital courses for discipleship, and
For
I've been
for those of us that might not know, what is LMS?
LMS is just learning a learning system on the go. If you have a mobile, or if you have an iPad and you log into it, you're able to do a course in about 2 or 3 minutes, while you're on the go. So
Joiner,
it's
I
just
think
this.
I think that comment was for me because I can't figure out headphones. So Josh is really trying to like babysit me along this thing. And so I appreciate that. That's very helpful for me. That was excellent clarity. For that was
Any advice is appreciated.
100%. Yeah,
He really does have a hard time.
yeah.
He's not
Before
exaggerating.
you jumped on, Joyner, we were really trying to figure out the headphone plug-in situation for like a solid 10 minutes. So Josh is really trying to help me advance. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate
It's
you.
like they go over your head, not under your
Yeah,
chin.
it was wild. It was pretty. Yeah, the pre-show video clips are gonna be. Yeah,
Looking forward to that.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically in a nutshell. Like I said, the mission is what drives me, my calling, and when the Lord is ready, whenever He seems fit, I'll see what's next.
It's awesome. Do you have any resources, Joyner, in Spanish for anyone that may want that?
Absolutely. So everything I do in English, I translate into Spanish.
Awesome.
In the website, there's English and there's a Spanish section on everything that people can benefit from in Latin America.
That's awesome.
Have you been able to connect with any other Spanish churches? Or I know you've spoken, I think, at Thrive before in the past, right?
No, not at Thrive. When they had their Spanish section or their Spanish ministry, I was
Yeah.
helping out the
Sorry, that's what I meant.
pastors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was helping out the pastors. Getting things ready basically it's just helping them out on whatever they needed. But I used to teach over at a Spanish church in Miami. After COVID, most of those churches, they just broke up or they started doing the home thing and then they never stepped out again.
I don't know if there's many non-denominational Spanish churches. I know it's kind of the last 20 or 30 years has been, kind of a bursting of non-denominational churches in general in English, but
Yeah.
is that common, non-denominational in Spanish?
Well, in Miami, there was one church every half a mile. That was the
Oh, wow.
demographics of Miami. Miami's full of Christian churches. Yes, most of them are non-denominational in Miami. It's packed.
Yeah.
I haven't done the study here in Houston, but Houston is just as Spanish speaking as Miami. My neighbors are they're not Spanish, but in my neighborhood, there's a lot of Spanish speakers. In Cross Creek.
Well, it's so diverse here. That's why I love Full Share. I love it for the kids to have that diversity and have so many different cultures and languages, and it's pretty cool. It's a good experience rather than kind of living in more of a, everybody looks the same type bubble. I like it.
Yeah, definitely.
I gotta ask you about working out, man. I know you, before we let you go. So I know I've seen you at the gym. I don't know if Josh and John are aware, but
I don't know this gym. You'd have to introduce me.
I
at some
work
point.
out, fellas. I work out. So just I've seen Joyner up there a few times. I probably go a few more. I go a little bit more than he does, but that's cool. Whatever.
Yeah, so I'm definitely a gym rat. I enjoy working out. Since I work from home, I need to get active. So I've been doing the gym for years. I've always told my wife that I've only missed 1 week, and it's her fault that I missed that week in the past 10 years.
Yeah, what started that? Because my wife's always like, "Oh, the Colombians don't work out that much." I think it might be just access to gyms, obviously in Colombia. But what started your inspiration for that?
I would say health. I do it for health reasons. I want to stay fit as much as I could. I want to stay active, and it's something that I enjoy doing. It's not something that I push myself. So I enjoy it. I love it, and I just carry on. It's never a burden for me. I spend 1 hour a day, Monday through Friday, on the gym.
Put everybody to shame. I mean, you don't see it, but everybody around you is just like giving you space. They're a little intimidated. So, well, awesome, man. Well, we won't take any more of your time. I appreciate you
Nah, I appreciate you
joining
guys.
us. And
Thank you so much for hanging out.
sharing your
Uh,
story. And
this is amazing. Keep going. This is awesome. This will definitely capture people's attention and
back at you, man. I mean, keep it
yeah,
going. I mean, your story is inspirational for sure.
I
And
appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah.
And
All
exciting
right.
times ahead for the next World Cup for all
Oh
of us.
yeah, let's go. Colombia is right there. Let's do it.
Yeah, I
And
think
over here,
there's games in.
hopefully they play here in Houston.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think there's
know.
games somewhere. I don't know if it's NRG or where they're playing, but
Yeah,
Yeah, NRG.
Houston is
NRG
a
is where
host
they're going to be
city.
playing. Yep.
So hopefully Colombia plays here. I mean, I'll pay the 200 or $300 for the ticket. Once in a
It's a lot
lifetime
lot cheaper than
opportunity.
flying. Yeah, I would say a lot cheaper than flying down there and having to fly anywhere else to see him.
Yeah.
So it's a good
Looking
opportunity.
looking forward to it. Yes, sir.
I think the finals are in like New Jersey or somewhere up
Yeah,
in
I think it's in
the
Miami,
Northeast.
wasn't it?
I'm
Like a
not sure.
small stadium. Like I don't even know. I don't know why they're doing that. Like the other games are in bigger stadiums, and the finals are in like a smaller stadium. I'm not sure. It's probably just a whatever decision, financial decision, or. All right, Joyner.
Thanks for
Appreciate
joining,
it, man.
man.
Appreciate you
Good talking
guys.
to you.
Thank you so much, John, Josh, Luther. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
You
thanks
bet,
for
Joyner.
doing this, bud.
We'll see you.
Thanks, man.
Good guy.
What a cool
It's,
story.
Yeah. Passionate.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is passionate about stuff and just interesting the culture that he brings and interesting the pathway and the journey that he has taken for sure.
Yeah, I think his story is one that I can see a lot of people benefiting from. Just his passion for for his ministry and his path to what that has looked like. I think is not that abnormal. I think people get really excited about whatever that is, whether it's ministry, whether it's a different career, whether it's buying a house, whether it's it could be a lot of different things. I think his testimony is just really powerful on how and I'm sure you guys felt the same thing. I could feel it when he started to talk through what that was. I could feel he has less tension about it today than he did a decade ago or so. Like I could feel the peace rise up in him as he was talking. I could feel the acceptance while still having the fire for it. Whenever that door opens, which was kind of cool to watch. Him, process that as we walk through it. So it's neat.
Yeah, that idea of like being patient, and that because my question, it just begs the question, like, okay, why don't you just go into ministry? Like, why don't you just become a pastor, like a full-time pastor, and do something more traditional? But I mean, it's admirable, him doing his thing and sticking to his guns and being patient. Well, it sounds like he learned the hard way from trying to do it the other way, but
Well, I love too,
but
like
that's
I love how raw he was. Like, listen, there's factors that I think we don't talk about enough in situations like that. There's factors in your marriage. There's factors in your finances. There's factors
yeah,
in like I love the fact that I even love his vulnerability around like, man, having a kid. Like, not everybody has like this hallmark feeling moment. And I think that story is one that it's going to help a lot of people. I think it's just going to give people permission to not have to feel like everyone else seems to feel. So I loved his vulnerability. Like I loved his willingness to be able to say like, hey, if my trials can be somebody else's, it's be a testimony for somebody else's story. Here it is. So I think he's going to help a lot of people.
yeah.
I am interested too in this the micro learning kind of aspect of it too, of like how that can benefit in 2, 3, 4 minutes of doing some micro learning and how that might come to fruition as he pushes that forward.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've helped him a little bit with the editing of that, and it's like a school lesson basically, just a short school lesson. It's a cool idea, a cool concept, especially for people who are new to faith and will not understand understand the significance of grace. Joyner's obviously big into the idea of grace, which you mentioned a lot, but what is that? Kind of how does it play into faith?
Well, I did look it up. World Cup final, July 19th, happens to be my birthday, MetLife Stadium in New York. I will accept tickets and a full experience as a gift. That's okay.
Just happens to be my birthday. I don't know. I feel like it's a divine thing. It's fine. Maybe not. I don't know. Just that's funny.
When did you say it was 2020? July
2026,
something?
July 19th, 2026, in MetLife Stadium. So it's at a big boy. It's definitely at a big boy stadium there.
Will your birthday be like a big one? Like, will it be 45, 40? Like, will it be?
It's 44.
See, 45. I was ready to write the check, dude.
I'm sorry. It's double quattro. That's it.
Well, pick out an event that's happening on your birthday at MetLife Stadium on July 19th on 45, and I got you. I'm sure there's I'm sure it's like New Jersey Monster Jam or something that I can. It's like $35. That's gonna be great.
Oh, hilarious.
I lost my joke here. I don't know where it is. Oh,
was it a dad joke?
Yeah, it's a dad joke. All right, what did the buffalo say to his son before he left for college?
I don't know.
Bye, son.
Oh,
yeah.
Definitely a dad joke. This has been Faces of Fulshire. Your hosts today were Josh Cullen, John Harper, and Luther Berry. Sound and editing for Faces of Fulshire were meticulously mastered by yours truly. As always, thank you for joining us for this episode, and remember, stay classy, Fulshire.